Hey guys, you're watching the one and only. My name is AJ, and welcome back to another time lapse. Sometimes you fancy giving yourself a challenge, making the playthrough more difficult, but in exchange for having to think more creatively about how you're going to survive long term. A survival island is a popular way of doing this. The rules of this custom game mode vary from player to player, but generally you want to find yourself a seed that spawns you on a small island in the middle of the ocean with as little as a single tree and usually some sugarcane to get you started. But with enough time and resources, what could your island end up looking like? I searched a lot of seeds looking for an island with enough room to build a castle on. After scouting a good 20 or 30, I settled on this one. It's got no coastline to mainland in render distance, which I had set to I think 35 chunks by accident. It's a huge render distance. And it's only got small islands surrounding it all the way around, which is a perfect setting. And it also gives the possibility of building other stuff on those islands to add to whatever we build today in a future episode. The largest island there wasn't quite big enough though, so I had to scale it up just a touch. I added a stone archway in as I knew it was a feature I wanted to have on the island. The terraforming didn't have to be perfect at this time because I hadn't even planned the castle's layout yet. There's no point spending time meticulously designing the island when you're just going to build structures all over it. You can worry about that after you've got it in place. I started laying out sections using coloured wool. Still not worried about being that accurate on where the blocks were exactly being placed. It was more to get creative ideas going so I could begin to visualise what it could end up looking like. I knew I wanted to have a lot of entrances and walkways on all sides, so whatever way you approached it from, there wouldn't be a boring side with nothing going on. I'm going to be straight with you here. Unfortunately, I don't get around to doing the interior in this video. The castle ended up being much bigger than I first imagined, and I was already 6 hours in of footage for this video. Interiors can take a really long time, and I could easily see myself putting in another 6 hours just on the inside. It will be really fun to do at some point though, because the castle uses the island it sits on as part of its structure. You go in one part and you come out somewhere else, and I think the hallways to connect these parts together have a lot of potential. The first tower you build for a castle, I find, is the most important part of the building process. I use it as a template for the rest of the build, so getting the block palette correct here is really important. I also use it to set the window design, the blocks I'm going to use for detailing, the colour of the roof, but most importantly, it sets the scale. The larger the tower, the larger the castle needs to be. I get the height of my towers slightly wrong to begin with and end up having to bump it up another section in order to get the towers to sit above the castle roof. A really good tip to stop walls looking so plain is to lightly mix in similar textures. A common example for stone bricks would be the cracked variant you can get. Andesite is another stone block which can go with most grayscale textures nicely. I still wasn't sure if I would have to move a wall or a tower still at this point, so I decided not to spend time mixing in those extra blocks yet, and instead, once I was happy with the structure, to do it afterwards. Another tip for brick walls and wooden floors would be to use stair blocks to give the impression that either a brick is missing or a plank has rotted away. I use this on the dock area and through the cobblestone parts of the castle. The roof tied in really nicely, and I even added a little door for access onto the square tower at the back. And that was supposed to be the castle part near enough finished, but as you'll see, my plan changed a little bit. Originally, the hole nearest the dock was going to stay as a cave style opening, but I was beginning to prefer the idea of incorporating the castle on all levels of the island as opposed to only sitting on top of it. So I replaced the original red square placeholder section with a prison/dungeon using iron bars as the window. This would be the perfect location for a villager trading post if you were using this on a survival world. Remember when I said that I wasn't bothered about getting the terraforming of the island exactly block perfect? Well, the backside nearly changed completely, so I was relieved knowing that I wasn't destroying something I spent ages making sure looked just right. There's a 3-level design for the back of the castle, but at this time I didn't know what I wanted to put on the second tier, so I left the area pretty blank and waited to come back to it later. I also wanted a little throwback to the survival island idea, so I used the back walkway as a simple sugarcane farm, similar to the vine farm under the roofed section of the base of the tower on the left. It adds a bit more greenery to the build and makes the backside have a little bit more character. I once more make a subtle change from the initial wool placeholders. I couldn't think of a way to get from the opening at the bottom of the tower to link up to the red section above. The pink wool was supposed to signify a staircase that would have gone to it, but it's so far away from the side of the island that supporting it would look a little bit silly. So I added another door for access and used the bottom opening as a private balcony area. While I was down there, I knew this part wouldn't change from here on out, so I tied the base into the island so it was ready for bushes and flowers later. There's a large chunk of wool that's going to be tricky to fill, so I decided that this level should be a small wheat farm, and I filled the empty wool with flowing water to hydrate the wheat while also being another feature of the build. I like the idea of having a small statue near the main entrance, but doing it on such a small scale can be a little tricky, so you have to get creative with the blocks you use to create as much detail as possible. I used a combination of an observer block, blast furnace, hopper, cauldron and anvil to create the guard statue holding a weapon and dress the surrounding area with foliage and benches. Tip of the episode coming up here: custom trees. Very important to a standalone build. Trees in Minecraft all look very similar, so building a unique one really catches people's eyes. They don't even have to be that good. I just built a thick trunk with exposed roots and some sprawling branches, covered them in oak leaves, and it resulted in a convincing willow tree hanging over the edge that really brings the piece to life. In fact, adding bushes and long grass is often forgotten about, but it adds so much detail with very little work. Use leaf blocks to create bushes wherever you have space and fill the remaining areas between that with grass, ferns and flowers simply by using bone meal. though we're on an island, a castle is never complete without a stable, so I converted the second tier from earlier into a small stable and storage area which gives an extra layer of depth to the back side. Once that was figured out, all was left was a couple of fine details and then light up the place so it doesn't look dull at night time. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. In the description below is a world download link if you want to check it out for yourself and have a wander around. Also in the description, I've linked Optifine, the shader pack that I used, and the texture pack that I used if you wanted to completely replicate what you saw today. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe, and we shall see you in the next video.